7 and 2540 in Bay City. Pastor knows who is going to come and pray with us this evening before our meeting starts. So thank you.
No, we can't.
No, I'm sorry.
A whole lot.
No, we can't. Y'all, please.
Oh, so I know I'm gonna pray this evening and kind of just look in the scripture real quick. James 1:5 says, if anyone lacks wisdom, you should ask God who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So I just commission you, board, for all wisdom. God has it. If you don't have it, ask for it, because he promises to give it. So that's what we're gonna kind of pray over, and just encourage you guys who are Christians, just to agree in our faith as we pray over the meeting, over the board, and all the discussion tonight. So Lord, we thank you for your goodness. Lord, I thank you that when we lack wisdom, you promise to give it, but we got to ask for it. So Father, I pray that we would just approach this meeting with humble hearts, asking you for wisdom and guidance and all of those things. And Father, we thank you for a good school year already in advance. That this year would just be different, full of your presence, full of your guidance, full of your grace to allow all of us to do a good job of what you've trusted us with. God, I ask for the boldness over the board to just make the right decision, not just a popular decision. And Father, I pray for unity amongst the board, working together on behalf of the students, the parents, and the faculty. Lord, I pray that this year would just be full of your presence. Lord, I pray that we have ears to hear, hearts to understand tonight, and Father, just the wisdom and boldness to make the best decision possible for Bay City, Matagorda County, and all of those involved in the schools. Lord, we thank you for your goodness. Lord, I thank you for each of these board members and leaders that you have positioned for such a time as this. I pray that we would be supportive and that we wouldn't just be critical. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order on August 15, 2023. We are in the BCISD administration building with the quorum present of 6 out of 7 trustees. Sorry to make you stand again, but we are going to do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we are going to do something that we've been doing every board meeting, which is good news for those that are joining us this evening. It's just an opportunity for board members to just share some good things that they've seen happening in our district since our last board meeting. So if anybody has anything, jump on it.
I'd like to start.
Sure.
And I would have to know we had enough, but on Monday I had jury duty and ran into a stranger and bought a breakfast and he invited me. Never met a stranger in my life. Okay. I met a stranger on Monday, bought a breakfast and he invited me to a community prayer rally. So it was neat to watch 200 to 300 people come together. Leaders praying over leaders, teachers praying over teachers, law enforcement praying over law enforcement. And then the cool thing was students praying over students. And so we had a lot of BCISD students leading prayer in a community setting. And so very, very, very cool. And I hope that is an annual thing that we do it here.
with people's support. We could take that up. We took it on the chin this time, but next time we're gonna ask for all the help of the community. Perfect. To facilitate whatever they got. Good. I was close
I'll share something on vacation. I know that so much work went into that and it was fantastic. I heard from so many staff members after that day that said that was truly amazing. We've never had something like that and we feel so ready and so excited, and they felt so thanked and so appreciated in that, because we did do it so well and go above and beyond. So thank y'all for the team for planning. I really appreciate it.
Also, the chamber had a new teacher breakfast just recently, and I was able to attend. I mean, it was, commend everybody who was a part of that. It was a really great event, and just feeling the excitement of all the new teachers coming in this year. I mean, you could physically feel the excitement here, so you're ready to go.
I've had my new students that are in school that come home very excited about school. So doing the high school one at Lindy Roberts, so they're doing something that's, you know, doing great. Like always, appreciate it.
3 high schoolers and actually stood in the kitchen, probably about their first day. All positive and really good. Sorry.
My kids love the first day. They came home excited, ready for the school year. So I want to give the principal a big shout out on that. And I also want to give whoever's doing the hiring at the chamber event where we got to meet a lot of the new teachers come in and stuff. You can tell the level of teacher that we're getting, the experience that's coming into the district. And those ladies are on fire, they're excited. We have a couple of programs where we're building curriculum and stuff over the summer, and before they were even starting, they were going straight into that. Just hearing all the things coming from the new teachers was really, really exciting.
Great.
I think my good news was in those lines of what I think we're all talking about, and that's preparation. To be able to watch from whether it was our HR staff, recruiting staff, bringing in the best teachers to get the year started to professional development, to the principals and the care and welcoming messages that they sent out, the care and the genuine regard and bringing their staff in and having team building activities, so much preparation to have I liken it to watching an aircraft carrier. You know, you just don't pull out of the docks on that. There's a lot of preparation that happens. Of course, our teachers coming in, getting the ground running, ready for the first day of school. Just everyone, it's just been an honor to watch everyone work so hard to launch a successful school year. And I believe thus far it's been tremendous. And I know it's by no accident. A lot of effort went into it. So appreciation to everyone involved.
Great, thank you. Moving on, we will go straight into audience with patrons. We do have 2 audience with patrons tonight, and I just want to kindly remind you that we are unable to address you here at the podium. You are welcome to speak. You do have 3 minutes. We do ask that you do not use staff members' names. That if you have an issue with a staff member, then there's a different process for that. So our first up will be Marcy Nelson Wilson. Okay. The next will be Lisa Harris.
I would address the word and let you know that about transportation issues. I was wondering about the outside. The city limits. And if I can say that my students, my children will not be allowed to start a bus because they said it's unsafe. I reached out to the Janet Command, and they let me know Friday that was going to stand that my children will not be allowed to start a bus. Or they've been able to get on a bus route for over 50 years. I've lived there since 2009. And I've never had any trouble with the kids getting picked up. I have no transportation. I haven't had transportation for over a month because I'm in disability and I haven't prepared my people. My students were scheduled to now on the bus route that they are still want them to require to, I guess, walk down Highway 60 and cross Highway 60 down to the sport complex, which that's not safe. I don't feel that that's fair. That route's not a dangerous, it can be a dangerous route if you don't drive properly. Working County, Fort Myers, doesn't have any trouble and they pick up students on the same highway 60 on their side of the county. I just feel like that's something that needs to be researched because my children don't have a way to school up because they rides people come in from out of town. They're in town, out of town to pick up my kids. And I just wanted the board to know that if there's anything that they can talk about, it was the several kind of, but about so many kids have a safe way to get to school, but right now, I very don't have to get this. Unless someone needs this.
Moving on to our celebration of excellence. Ready to celebrate some high school students this evening.
So Ms. Lopez is going to join me We do have some teachers here as well, Ms. Ramos and Ms. Lowry, if y'all will come join me. We're gonna do presentations tonight for our students who pass their advanced placement exam and earn full credit, credit for college as a part of that. I'm gonna let these ladies have the honors because they worked with them all year long, and chemistry is up first.
I had, this past year, I had a really small group for AP chemistry. I just had 4 students in there. And my 2 wonderfully smart ladies passed and gained college credit. So one of them is Ann Ivy. I don't think she's here today, but her father died unexpectedly last school year. Even with that and her missing all the school that she did, she still was able to watch videos that I had or lectures that I had recorded and get what she needed to pass the AP. So I'm really proud of her. Then the next one is Mildred Satina. So I had her for chemistry and then I had her for AP chemistry. And I tell her all the time, she's probably one of the smartest students that I've ever had. So I'm gonna take a minute to tell a little bit about her. Mildred moved to Bay City about 8th grade, 4 years ago. So when she came into high school, nobody knew how smart she was. English was not her first language. And so in the beginning, she wasn't in honors classes. And for anybody that has students in honors classes, you know, if they take those types of classes, they're going to get that 10-point bump in their grade if they're successful. So Mildred wasn't getting that at the beginning. It's hard to get into the top 10 if you don't do that. But Ms. Hidalgo realized how smart she is and got her into those classes. So she went from her freshman year, and by the time she graduated, she ended up number 10. She got worked herself up. I tell her. She's an amazing, amazing girl. She's gonna go far.
I'm going to get a group picture of all the students. Yeah.
Okay, did you need me to do this or no?
No, you're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, you'll stand right there with your name. Yeah. So the second group of students actually passed their Spanish language exam, and Ms. Ramos is our teacher for that class, so she's going to present those.
Well, it's truly an honor and a blessing to have the opportunity to teach these students how to prepare and how to be ready to take this exam. It's a grueling exam. The 4 AP is language and culture. The 5 AP is literature and culture. So they're difficult exams. So preparing them and being with them on the journey through to when they take the test is just such a blessing to see them, how they grow, how they express themselves, and how they just get that courage to attempt the test. And it's so much fun, and I've enjoyed it. I continue to enjoy it, and it's just such a joy to be with them and talk to them and listen to them and their opinions and their thoughts. Because it's a class that we talk about all kinds of topics, and it's just really, really so much fun to watch them grow. So the first student we have is Eduardo Baca Presa. Fernanda, yes. Francisco Garcia Torres. Iselin Garduno. Michaela Granqueno. Montserrat Martínez. Atsiri Martínez Hernández. Eduardo Martínez Méndez. Fatima Martinez Paniagua. Alejandro Romero Aguirre.
He's away at college already.
George Ross Olan. Kimberly Salvierna. Jonathan Sanchez Rodriguez. José Carlos Tomás Canastu. Adrián Vega López. And the next person that's gonna receive her certificate, last year was the first year for me to teach Spanish 5 AP, a literature and culture. It's a very difficult course to take because we study literature from the beginning of the Spanish language to now. So it's very difficult understanding the old Spanish to the new Spanish and just studying all that literature and the genres and everything. And we have Diana Muniz Reyes.
Oh, I just have one comment. If you got a 5 on this exam, raise your hand. If you received a 5 on one of your exams. These students are getting 18 hours of college credit in Spanish, which means that they can minor in it once they go to college. Oh.
And Ms. Lowry and Ms. Ramos.
Thank you.
Just something to share while we're taking the photograph. In the envelope, some of our students receive the reimbursement. We get a little stake in the game at the beginning for them to sign up to register for the exam. Some of the costs is deferred by our economic status, but in some instances, students have to pay for the initial fee and then the other part is waived. So some of them got a check for reimbursement. Yeah, dinner. It might just be Dairy Queen, but.
Okay, I can also look this way and big smiles. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Congratulations, Brian. What a joy to be able to do that. And congratulations, students. Once again, that is a lot of hard work. And for those of you that made it 5, wow. Thank you, teachers, for what you're doing. Okay. Cannot thank you enough. All right, moving on to our next item on our agenda is our LSG portion of our meeting. So we will invite Tony up and we'll go ahead and get started on that. Thank you all so much for coming.
Good. So we'll start by looking into the folder and we have a time tracker for last. And you may remember we covering one goal, we're looking at high school. So we're on track and that which we can keep them on track. We had one more to the work here, 6 of the present, but 85% attendance. Looking at the minutes for last month's meeting, it was 133-minute meeting, not including the closed session. And there was
102 units that are sent for student outcomes. So 76.69% of your meeting is focused on student outcomes. So I got to congratulate you. That was quite an accomplishment. So good work on that. Now for tonight's agenda, things that we need to review and approve. We're going to have a brief report on last year's CCR final statistics, the monitor report, and then we'll also have a scouting report on this year's CCR. And so for that, I'm going to invite Ms. Mosley to come up. As soon as this thing loads, we'll get you the report up on the screen. All of you have a copy of the report.
So I'm also, while I'm doing this, going to introduce you guys to a few members of the Bay City High School leadership team. They're joining us here in their mood shirts with our mission for Bay City High School. And we're going to say it together in a minute. We introduced it to our students today as we were doing our meetings with them. A lot of kids talk about, why do we have those moon things that are here? So we shared it with them, and we kind of rehearsed it every time we gather, because it does remind us to keep at the forefront everything that we are doing and why we are doing it. So Mr. Cobb, you want to start us?
Sure.
We inspire.
Inspire
all
all students through all goals through the power of their education.
So this year's shirt, and we kind of watched and ready real fast. I apologize for not wearing mine. Linda told me last night, how come we're not wearing shirts to the board meeting, but we wore them to school yesterday. So don't ask if anybody did laundry, but Monday is our blue shirt day, so we can always remember to wear that. When we started 7 years ago, Bay City High School was almost an F. We were 1 point away. We were 60, and it's evaluated on the college scale. So our instructional leadership team took a lot of concern to that. I think Angela Johnson was one of the people at the time that was like, oh my gosh, that's us, that can't be us. Mr. Townsend was there when we had the discussion about it only requiring the square root of the organization to make change. Our leader at the time of the initiative, Organizational Health, talked about how you gotta wait. It's gonna take about 3 years for the student outcomes to change. We changed, and then the student outcomes changed, and we've been a little salty about being in the 80s. 87, 80, 87, 88. And so we are really hoping that this year, some of that is going to come to fruition. Mr. Cobb is our leader for outside CTE, which is all of our ag and industrial trades programs. Ms. Morrison is our English instructional team leader. We talked about EOC scores, a little preview of those last meeting. Angela Johnson is our math team leader. Andrea Brown is Insight CTE, so all of the industry-based certification inside, but she's also our early college teacher, and she does AVID at Bay City High School. And then Jill Lowry, science teacher, you already met her in the introductions for AP. Ms. Ramos was here as well, so AP counts in CTMR, so does our early college and dual credit. And then Linda Smith works with our DAEP program as well as our athletics department. And a little bit of what I speak to today, we'll talk about how we made some impacts in our alternative education and targeting those students to still be successful. One of the things to share is that Angela and Becky, those two teachers there, are also they are part of our UHB master's cohorts. And Ms. Morrison just finished. She graduated and is now going to be teaching a section of dual credit this year. So I'll talk about that in our report. Angela will be graduating this spring, in the May semester, and then we also have 2 other math candidates with the honor. So it's really exciting is continuing to grow all things CCMR through those opportunities. The first flyer that I shared with you might have already been shared with you guys through Dr. Matt's newsletter, but we were asked to do a little research and kind of think back to what early college has done at Bay City High School. It started us thinking about our talking points for goal 3 today. Really and truly, that's where we started with making more of a difference with dual credit at Bay City High School, because we wanted students to be able to complete an associate's degree. Although we had 2 seniors last year complete an associate's degree, this will be the first cohort that goes all the way, and our senior group will be the rest of those who are completing an associate's degree. And then as we follow, all of our cohort at early college will do the same. So something to share with you on that report there is that when we are looking at the changes over the course of time, that we've actually had more students get industry-based certifications, more TSI completions, definitely more of our students getting AP credit, of course, the dual credit, but then also really growing our faculty at Bay City High School to teach more of the courses ourselves. When we first started, it was kind of an online thing, and we were monitoring, facilitating, and proctoring, but it just piqued a little bit of interest. And Ms. Moya is here today, so I want to give a little accolade to her with helping us forge a relationship with University of Houston, Victoria, because we needed a resource to get our teachers that extra, so that we could really provide for our students. Our best instructors are the basic high school teachers. Not to say anything that our WCJC was not good instructors, but they just really didn't have the resources to give us adjunct professors. And we needed them here in our school, but we also needed them to know our kids, especially if they're freshmen and sophomores that are taking college classes. And just to say that Ms. Morrison's group that she is teaching this year is sophomores taking English 1301 and 1302 language credit. So it's really exciting. It's also going to help the other courses because their writing was a little deficient as they were taking like history and government classes. So we're just moving up, and we have really worked hard for WCJC to get a little buy-in on that. In addition to that, Ms. Brown with the AVID program, our AVID department, Ms. Brown. So because of early college, we have doubled. We now have 2 sections of every AVID grade level, which really means we have to have 2 teachers. So we do have one of our coaches who joins us in the AVID department, Coach Kate, and he teaches some of the sections of AVID that Andrea did not teach in her schedule. She definitely facilitates the program as well district-wide, so we have a lot of buy-in for junior high, recruiting those students, but it is a place for all our early college to get their study practice skills in, and it's really been successful for us. I know that when we think about CCMR, a lot of times we think about industry-based certifications, but to be honest, the college and the industry-based certifications are almost really parallel to where we were before. It was just our kids getting dual credit. And then we worked really hard to add the industry-based certification. They changed the game for us too, though. They moved the target. So now not just an industry-based certification, but they also have to have a second level course. So I will talk a little bit about that as we're going ahead and looking at goal 3. When we look at 3.1, when we're looking at these students that have TSI math preparation, we are looking at all of the students that would then be eligible because they passed TSI to take dual credit classes. Because we're offering dual credit classes sooner, we're getting an edge on the TSI preparations. And what you're going to notice since the last meeting is a slight increase, but mostly because we did most of our work in the early spring semester. We wanted those kids to be able to sign up for the dual credit classes for this fall. And if we didn't really know who was going to be eligible to sign up, we couldn't create a master schedule that would allow that. So we did have a few additional students who did TSI over the summer. Maybe they were like, oh man, I do want to take that class, and I haven't done that. And then Ms. Lopez reached out and made some really good contacts. Coach Smith, Anthony Smith, if any of you know him, he also works in our college and career readiness department. He's part of our athletic department, and 4 periods a day, we get to utilize him, which is a tremendous asset. He works really hard with getting buy-in from the athletes. I don't know that they always want to be at the top of the class, because when you're thinking about the stereotype, most of our athletes, don't want to be looked at as like, oh, they're the nerd too, But he works really hard to tell them that colleges want them to show that they're college and career ready. And so we've actually gotten buy-in from, he'll bring the whole track team in, see how we can try and take the test, and then see what we need to study and review, and then take it again if need be. So some of those things that changed, some of the summer was, oh, let's go to staff camp, oh, and then let's go to take a TSI right afterwards. And some of that is attributed to our coaching staff. It's definitely been impactful. When you're looking also at the subpopulations, you're going to notice that we are definitely measuring up in our subpops to the overall population. But some of that is speaking to the work of our individual teachers of identifying students. We talked about the young lady that did AP chemistry not being our typical students that are in our advanced placement classes, but recruiting from our subpops, whether it's low socioeconomic, African American, or Hispanic students, really trying to get them to be involved in things that they typically have not been. Then you look at 3.2, this is the industry-based certifications. Mr. Cobb's team works really hard with our underclassmen. So you're going to not see as much of a change here with the upperclassmen because of the push on the academic side, more towards TSI and our dual credit. But we've started now with our freshmen and sophomores, and Mr. Cobb can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we were in the 80s of our freshmen and sophomores and principals of construction that got their NCPER core. And some of that is still evolving because they did parts of the modules, and now that they're in construction management this year, they'll finish the modules. The game changer though is that we actually had to offer more sections of construction management to get them in a second year, because they have to have the second year in order for that IBC to count. So even though they have it and it's on the books, we can't actually enter it into our database because they haven't earned it yet, because they don't have the level 2 course. So this year, Mr. Cobb has 2 sections of construction management, and our other teacher has 1 section, which means we are taking 6 sections of the school day to sustain those kids through the program of study. So we hope to see the increase here, but you won't see that until they can count their certifications. And in this instance, when you're looking at the graduating class, we had fewer because of the focus at that time. We do believe that one of the game changers for some of our students is being allowed to get that as their NCCR point, as their CCMR point, that the NCCR is also something we've talked about with some of our community partners about the business industries, what is needed in our community. And so we're hoping to segue in. Ms. Lopez has already left, but last year we had 8 students who did your signing. Oh, there you are. We had 8 students who actually got a contract in industry, and just as if they were going to college, signed a contract to go work. And that is part of the program, really getting our students to be part of our community and in our workforce here. Then in 3.3, you're going to look at the dual credits. And again, we all of our students, for the most part, that are in the dual credit in the first semester, typically have a matching class in the second semester. So the percentage there is identical because most of those students were already counted from the first semester and completing that, and they're finishing up the second semester. They already counted, and once they get 1 count, it doesn't count again for them. Although they can get 30 hours of college credit, it only counts once as part of theirs. Any questions, comments related to some of that information?
I know it's such a big and robust program, but for those in the audience may not know, you touched just a little bit about what AVID is and what is special.
And Ms. Brown is here, so I might let you just kind of jump in and say if you want to say anything else. AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. So whereas some students just are innately born with the desire and the drive, some of them also don't have the avenues to get to where they want to go. AVID provides some of those opportunities through a tutoring-based program, as well as dedicated staff on our campus. And that tutoring model includes tutorials 2 days a week. So we actually have students who are dual credit or who are college students or dual credit students that come into our campus that we pay as tutors to come in and help our students to be successful in the classes that they're struggling in. So they are a little more brave to sign up for those college classes because they actually have peer tutors. Ms. Brian, you want to bounce off of that and say anything else?
Just want to add a little bit. Our students are typically first generation college. They have that drive to succeed, but they may not have the soft skills. They may not have the support at home. And that's where the AVID program steps in. Some of my students, their parents didn't even finish high school because they came from Mexico. They have an 8th grade education. So navigating the college world is hard. And so that's where we can step in and come alongside those families and those students. So this year we should graduate 40 from the AVID program. And so far, we've had 100% acceptance to 4-year universities since 2007.
One of the nice things also is that when we are working with our staff or faculty, they're always looking for students that might benefit from our AVID program. And initially, it was kind of a little bit of a, oh, I don't know if I want to be in that class because I have a binder, it has to be organized, it has to be tutorials. But now the word is kind of spread that AVID really is a great resource and helpful tool for you to be on track for success. And we have seen every year when we do, I don't know if y'all watched live, when we do our top 10 reveal, many of those students are in it. And so it's really exciting to see that they end up in the top 10 and that we get to recognize them and thinking that they might not otherwise have been on track. Something else to add that's related to the goals, I did do a scouting report for 2024, provided that to you guys. Of course, you will not see just IBC on this report, because again, as I stated, they were the target for us. So just getting an industry-based certification does not necessarily count. However, some students already have an IBC plus the level 2 class, and they are included in the CCMR points section. So far of the graduating class that is now seniors, we have 85 students who have already earned their CCMR points. That puts us definitely ahead of where we were last year at this time. So that's really good, thinking about what we have work to do for the school year. Ms. Lopez has already got a report with every student's name on it, what they have already earned. And every time something else happens, we click and we add something on that report. So when they move to the other side and they've actually earned it, we know they're enrolled right now in dual credit, but if they haven't gotten a point any other way, then once they get the first semester under their belt, we'll move them to the next section, and that'll become 86, 87, 88. The other thing to share with you guys is that TSI, of those students, 85 of them, we have 41 of them already passed their TSI prior to entering their senior year, which again is ahead of where we have been in the past. You might sometimes see over the summer the students that are TSI complete, they get their picture taken until they are TSI complete. We don't include them in that number, but 41 of them already are TSI complete. So that's really exciting to see. If I were to speak on the industry-based certifications, we do have, like I said, a number of students that have industry-based certification, but not yet their level 2. So really that's not something that we can report yet, maybe something to consider a revision for in our goals, that we would really want to kind of revise how that is worded. Same thing that we also talked about with our EOCs, that we would look at something different just a little bit related to specifically our English 1 as being our most difficult exam. I said I was going to mention district alternative education. Even if it's not listed for you as a demographic, we are very mindful at Bay City High School of disciplinary placements and how they affect academics. So we have done a really good job of trying to keep track of where those students are and whether or not their disciplinary placement is hindering them from their academic success. This past year, it absolutely was. We had not had any of our DAP students pass their STAR exams. We couldn't do them all, but we did pick a place to start. And Ms. Linda Smith and I worked together to identify the students that were in her DAP that were biology students, and there were enough to make a class. But again, they were in DAP placement, so they were not in the school day with their biology teachers. So we made a unique circumstance, and when we did homeroom, we designated one of our teachers to be responsible for that. Our DAP staff walked students to parts of the main building, waited for the other students to pass, and then those students got 30 minutes a day of instruction in biology and every single one passed the exam. So we also are looking this year, how do we work on the industry-based certifications in the CCMR? We want to be able to target those students specifically for TSI preparation, because that is something that can happen there. They cannot get their CTE credit during DAP quiz. So if they are in DAP, we have to turn off the CT indicator. They are not really getting what they need as hands-on practice in the lab. And some of them are the students who typically would have gotten an industry-based certification, like in welding. So this year, we're going to work a little bit differently to go at it from the perspective of TSI and trying to have that as part of their disciplinary placement, that while they're there and they say their reward and they don't have anything else to do, that they've been doing some TSI preparation. And so something else for us to consider as we're thinking about goals in mind is definitely how we're continuing to target CCMR through our population of students, especially knowing that the law has changed and that vague violations are now DAP placements as well. I'm definitely concerned about that for our campus, considering the number of violations that we had last year, and just thinking about the underage, how low in age they are. They're typically 9 to 10 graders, and they really haven't earned a CCMR point yet. So I don't want us to miss them because of their disabilities. Anything else? Questions?
Just congratulations on, I wrote a few things down here. The CCMR numbers are just staggering with what you all are able to do. And I just wrote down a little word dedication. It comes with opportunities that staff want to go back, maybe not wanting to, but willing to go back and get a master's degree so that we can not only provide dual college credit, but face-to-face dual college credit. That's an opportunity that is so rare that we have it in all what we traditionally say core content areas plus electives to get them to that associates. That's a staff that is willing to say, I haven't I know I've been doing this for a while and I'm willing to go back and do this for kids. I know on the TSI side, I know you guys are up there on Saturdays. And that is something that is often overlooked. But the dedication to be there on Saturdays, the teamwork and the dedication where we have the importance of extracurricular activities cannot be overstated. You've got to have that, and to know that our extracurricular, our coaches, our sponsors are working with our staff to get students into tests and say, oh, you need to do this, you need to look into this. I just think it's a real purposeful approach that you all have going on there. You're not missing any details, and I'm also sure reflecting upon even at our junior high having TSI ready students at junior high, which is a huge, where our AVID program is there as well. And then just the purposefulness also in our elementary levels on literacy and taking ownership, beginning, middle, and end of the year to check those students' progress. All these wonderful things are by no accident. So thank you for your dedication and your hard work.
So I just want to say thank you to our team and to Ms. Lopez, definitely for working together and making it a great opportunity. And we certainly invite our feedback from Tony as we're working on setting our goals for next year. Oh.
Thank you all so much. It is very evident.
You know, it just really just reflect back over the last few years. Apparently, there's a culture shift, right? So it's really more about getting kids ready for what faces them after school. It's not just at the high school, it's the junior high too, and the elementary school. The whole system is moving in that direction. So I want to congratulate you. Now, the other thing we needed to look at was constraints, and I know that Dr. Mack will be looking at the superintendent constraints with you 3.1 later tonight. But when we look at the board constraints, there are 4 of them. We have a document in your folder that lists those. And remember what we do when we cover these board constraints, these are the knots, they're like guardrails for the board. Right? So I read them and then we just assess them, how we do. So number 1 is topics in closed session shall not be discussed outside of executive session. How we do? All good. Thumbs up. Excellent. Number 2, board shall not allow discussion outside of agenda items during the meetings. Good. It appears to me. I mean, that has been a huge improvement. Just in the 2 years I've been here. So number 3 is the board shall not allow less than 50% of their time in meetings to be spent on student outcomes. So I just went back to the last quarter. In May, you had 25.86%. In June, 52.63%. And James, you weren't here last month. You missed it. We had 76.69%. So do that. That's 51.73%.
Was in the West Indies.
Okay.
That's why
Anyway, that's excellent. So that actually, now think about that. You know, I think back, I was a superintendent for 11 years. And I can't think of too many board meetings I've ever presided over as a superintendent where we spent 50% of our time talking about student outcomes. And this is a remarkable shift. And so congratulations on that. It really sets the lead and for the whole system. So thank you for that focus. And the board constraint number 4 is the board shall not allow a year to go by without holding a team building activity with 100% attendance. And we're hoping that works out on the 16th of September. Jill and Dr. Mack and I met at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we kind of planned the agenda. And I'm going to go back to the service center and round up the folks, and we'll head to Matagorda on the 16th. And looking forward to meeting with you guys. And hopefully all 100% of you are there. And that's also a superintendent constraint as well. So we look forward to it. Now, just a couple of discussion items. For next month's meeting in September, the only thing on the agenda for LSG is to review, discuss, and approve, hopefully, the new goals, goal progress measures, constraints, and monitoring calendar for 2023 to 2028. And so this Friday, I'll be meeting with the leadership team here in the city, at the administration building. And we'll be crafting those goals without baselines or targets. They just got some of their data in Friday. It's very rough right now, I haven't had time to look at it. And so we'll insert those baselines and targets as it comes up, and hopefully before the next meeting in September. So we'll have that, and that'll be a nice discussion. Remember, those of you who were here last time, we had a nice discussion about that. So you gave us some good, starting points to work. But again, I want to tell you, the privilege to work at BCISD. I tell you, everybody needs, around here needs to know what you're doing. It needs to be promoted, because you're really doing great.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Moving on to our reports in our agenda, the delinquent tax collection report from Leslie Scott. Hi there, how are you?
I'm well, thank you so much for having me. Well, good evening, I'm Leslie Scott, for you, Brandon, here to give you your annual delinquent tax collection report.
Every time you say that, it's small.
I just get on the excited. You have the report in your packets. So keep in mind as we go through this, these are delinquent taxes only. Your residents are doing a fantastic job of paying their taxes. If you look at the very end of the report, you'll see a chart of the 2022 turnover. The tax office collected 97.83% before July of this year. In July, 2.17% of the taxes were turned over to delinquents for 2022. So you don't have delinquent tax problem. I get very little meat on the bone left to collect, and that's what is represented within this report. So to keep it all in perspective. All right, so let's get started. I think y'all all heard my spill about the collection penalty, and I'm happy to go into detail if anybody has any questions. So the first chart you have is the account breakdown chart. It gives you a snapshot of the delinquent roll where our system has categorized all of the tax accounts and where they fall in the delinquent tax process. You'll notice the largest section is the action pending section. That's mainly the 2022 taxes that were just turned over to us in July for collection. So that's really the beginning of where it all starts. Those get turned over. We send out our mass mailings. We start actively phone banking the accounts. We try to find a good phone number. We try to contact the taxpayer at least 3 times. We do title research. We contact their lien holder if they should have a lien holder. And very often we taxpayer, we get them into some kind of meaningful agreement. We make a commitment to pay, and we get that in result of collecting the taxes. Sometimes when those things break down, it's necessary for us to file a lawsuit, which brings us to the suit litigation section at 42%. So action pending was at 35. Suit litigation is at 42%, the largest piece of the pie. So these are the taxpayers that we could not contact. They are no longer here, unable to find. They own the property, they passed away. And so sometimes it's necessary for us to file a lawsuit to collect the taxes. And very often when people get served by the sheriff deputy, they have us on the phone as soon as our doors are open, getting a payment agreement, and we're working it out in that manner. So not very often we get to the courthouse steps. However, sometimes it's necessary for us to continue the litigation, take a judgment, set the property for sale, and which is typically not the norm. All right, so the next part of the section we have is the deferral section. And 11% these are taxpayers who have opted to defer payment of their delinquent taxes due to being over 65 or disabled. They may only defer the taxes on their resident homestead only, and they have to file the selection with the county appraisal district. And that's when that status goes onto the account. From there, we have the bad address section at 5%. These are taxpayers who have failed to update their address with the county appraisal district. So the appraisal district assesses the account, places the value on the account, maintains the account information. Then that information is passed along to the tax office where your tax rate is applied, bills are mailed, et cetera, becomes a little when it comes to me. So we work year round when our mass mailings and our letters to taxpayers come back. We get that back, the mailings, the return mail, and we work through those year round, trying to get a better address on the account so we can reach out to that taxpayer. Next chart we have is the dollar range charts. Just another way that we are assuring that we are collecting taxes for the school district. We work the tax roll top dollar down. We want to be as effective as possible. We use proprietary software that groups together accounts that have this similar ownership. For example, what is in some of these pieces of pie that I may call an account may be an individual taxpayer that owns multiple accounts. I want my staff to call that taxpayer one and select all of those individual accounts rather than contacting them multiple times at various different times, because in my mind, that's not nearly as meaningful as the efficient, and work for the district in the most efficient manner. So basically, just another collection tool. Third chart we have is our tax year chart. So there's the largest section, the 2022 section. That's what we've most recently been turned over to us at 37%. We started on July 1. The 2023 taxes will be billed in October, and we'll start working on that July next year. It won't be longer. We'll wait. So after that, the segments get smaller and smaller. 2015 and prior, there's actually very small percentages due to each of those years. So those older tax years could be that the property is struck off, gone through the tax sale process. I was here earlier this year having you all approve a tax resale, which I'll talk about momentarily. So some of you maybe properties that are in the tax trust that have been struck off, we're trying to find a buyer, find somebody that's interested in purchasing the property. Also could be over 65 deferred, or could have that deferred status for several years, or bad addresses, or accounts with title issues, or they're unmarked by the appraisal district. So we work year round with the appraisal district trying to figure out the title research and resolve those issues. So after that, we have our historical collection data for tax year 2017 through 2021. And you'll see at the top of the chart, you'll see what was turned over to us for that year of collections. And you'll see what we collected versus what is still outstanding. I'll focus on the final to the 2020 tax year. We're almost 80% collected for that tax year. And for the 2021 tax year, we just completed the first full year of collections for that year. We are almost at 60% collected at 59.9. So I was going to mention the tax resale. So remember, I was here in April, or actually, I think I was here in the February meeting, and we were attempting to resell some properties that were in the city limits. Unfortunately, out of 5, we only sold 1. However, I've regrouped my new theory is I placed tax sale funds on each of the properties that did not sell in hope to generate some excitement, in hopes that an adjoining landowner will contact us and purchase the property. So out of the 4 from the resale, we've already had some calls about one of them, and then we placed signs on an additional account that was struck off at that April sale. So we've had some interest in that as well. So I'm scratching my head thinking it's probably a good option going forward, place the signs and get people to understand what's going on. Because the adjoining landowner, they're typically going to be the best person to get the property, pay the taxes, take care of the property, maintain the property, etc. So, are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Moving right along from items in business, we're going to take things a little out of order this evening, starting with item C, our teacher residency with the University of Houston, Victoria. So we're going to start with
Okay, but before we get started and before I introduce our guests, I did want to kind of tell you all a little bit about how this started. So actually, Miss Lisa Moya had approached us probably fall of last year about this particular partnership with the University of Houston, Victoria. We're very excited about it. I know we've shared a little bit with y'all here and there, but today they're actually going to present about Texas Strategic Staffing Residency Program, say that 5 times. But just wanted to kind of give you all an introduction of who's here. Also kind of explain who's going to be part of this partnership and do the implementation and the design period. That way you'll kind of have a backstory, and then whenever they get up here to present. It's also exciting because none of our principals have got to be in the know of this, so it's a good opportunity for them to be introduced to this program that we're going to partner with UNH for. So to start with the University of Victoria, we're going to start with Dr. Martinez, Rachel Martinez, and then Dr. Mary Lassiter, and then Dr. Chance Glenn. And then we have Lisa Hoyle with Region 3. For our design team, it's actually going to be obviously Dr. Mason, who is our superintendent of schools. We have Mr. Christopher Townsend, who is our assistant superintendent. Ms. Lee Arlett, who is our director of marketing and community relationships. Ms. Elizabeth Rollins, who will be our director of federal programs, and myself. So we're very excited, and so I'll go ahead and start with U of H. Okay.
Do you want us to come up to the?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, I'm Rachel Martinez. I'm the Dean for the College of Education and Health Professions. Dr. Mary Lassiter is the Associate Dean for the College of Education and Health Professions. And then today we also have the Provost of the University of Victoria with us. And we're gonna have him do a little welcome and all of that, so I'll let you talk.
I promise I won't take a whole lot of time. I like to talk, but I've come up through the professor ranks, so I like to talk. So forgive me, I'll take too long. Let me start by saying that we are extremely honored to be here. I was just taken by the level of dedication and enthusiasm that comes from the school system here, and you can see the benefits through the students. And nothing, in my opinion, more important than the education of our generation. And I say that specifically because I could have said our young people, but our educational opportunities extend from a very early age all the way to people like me who are old. But we at UHV, we are dedicated to education, and we have two of the finest educators in higher education standing on my right and my left. It's Dr. Martinez and Dr. Lassiter. They're dedicated to helping us to meet the needs of education in this region. We know how important that is. We know the challenges that we face, and we're here to partner with you in order to make that happen. And so we're here to learn. We need to know what's needed. We're here to tell you about what we can do. And it was so exciting to hear that we've got some graduates already, and we're putting them right here to educate this community. And what you all are doing, I know you're aware of this, but I'm saying, you are improving. You are improving something right now. You are supercharging your community, because education at these levels of the kids that were standing here earlier, they're the ones that are going to make this a much better community through the years. And you're investing in them now by what you do. We want to help you do that. So just allow us to come and we're going to talk about what that is. So with that in mind, and I did want to say, who was the one that's talking about the athletes and the nerds? I was both the athlete and the nerd, and I'm still a nerd, and it's great to be a nerd. So you tell them to keep being nerds. And the last thing I'll say is that if we could just line those students up and just march them right into UHV, we would love to do that. We've got scholarship dollars that are available to them. And the reason why I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I believe in UHV is because last commencement, I was able to walk my daughter across the stage, and she graduated with her degree in biology and is on her way to go to medical school. So we can do that, and we can do that for all of the students that you have here. We want to be your partners. So without any more, I will allow Dr. Martinez to make the presentation.
All right, so it was so exciting to hear about how Bay City was looking at us to try to find a partner, when at the same time, when we were thinking about who we want to partner with next, Bay City came to the top of our list, and we reached out to Lisa and we said Bay City is where we want to go. So I'm so excited that we all have this mutual respect and we have such a great relationship, and I think it's just going to get better. I noticed that you guys have the black cap Jinx, right? And we have Jax. So I think even there, I mean, there's like the signs are all there that we're gonna have a big partner. And so what we're doing right now is really innovative, and I think not every school district in Texas is doing this yet. And so this is an opportunity for us to really change how teachers come to the profession and to prepare teachers. And what does that do? I'm going to add some points to your little score talking about student outcomes. It's going to improve your student outcomes greatly. And so it's a win-win-win for all of us. We have our students coming through the residency program. They will be paired with your best teachers here for an entire year. And while they're doing that year-long service here, they're helping the classroom teacher that they're paired with to have to try new things, to group differently all year long, which helps students do better in the classroom. And our students, UHB students, are doing a great education, which allows them to come out having a year's worth of teaching under their belts before they ever go into a classroom on their own. And so it helps us as well. And their turnover rate is a lot less. So your teachers will stay in the field longer because there's so much better there. And so that's kind of the partnership that we're looking at when we're talking about a residency. So strategic staffing. This is another thing that I think is really remarkable about your district. When we are asking our students at UHB to come into a residency, and we're saying you're going to be out on the campus for a year, instead of doing just a semester of student teaching and going into the workforce, we want you to be out there the whole year and then go into the workforce. Much like I'm sure it's not surprising that we have some students that come from different financial, different needs. And so for them to make a commitment also to do a residency for a year and not get paid can be very devastating for some people's families. The district here has made a remarkable, I think, pledge to our students and then you as well, by considering the residency and doing the strategic staffing, because you're helping us figure out how might we be paying to support our students as your staff that year in the residency, which is really remarkable. Again, that is not common. That's not happening everywhere. There's no momentum for this because it's so important and it has a strong outcomes for students. But that's what we're working on this year. So Lisa Moya is working with us and with BCISD to really forge a strong partnership. And the residency is one of the models that we're looking at. And then I think we can look into many other arenas for us, where we're looking at graduate students, or we're looking at high school students coming through the program in the grade. So I think there's some potential, and we're really excited about that. So this is one thing I wanted to highlight, is that we're doing this year, we're planning this year to kind of gear up for our pilots, and then pick up all next year is the goal. And then the service center will continue working with us as a group, as a team, to help make sure that it implements well that next year as well. So it's really exciting, I think. Lisa, did I miss anything that you think I need to talk about there? Okay. All right, so Dr. Lassiter.
Okay, well, I have a Bay City connection. My husband graduated from Bay City High School in 1968. But he loves Bay City, and he's so jealous of here. But I want you to think about this what is happening with this JAGS teach is what we call this residency program. These students it's during their senior year, their last year. If not prolonging it, it's their senior year, so get that out of the way, it's not, we're not adding on more time. It's where they're taking those courses while they're doing their senior year, and they're seeing it and implementing and trying and playing with and experimenting with that information they're also getting in their coursework. But the other what if here is this, you have students that are coming in that are being paired with mentor teachers that, you know, are going to be co-teaching with them on a daily basis. You have them coming in and they're learning it in your context. They're not like a Victoria person coming in to teach in Bay City and then going off to teach in El Campo. It's different. They're becoming enculturated with what you already are doing in the district. They are doing this on a daily basis. So they come in, we have different, I'm going to show you, there's different ways you can do it, but they're going to be engaged on a daily basis. They're going to be working with that teacher, co-teaching from day one. Those mentor teachers are the ones that are sharing their skills. They build that relationship where they're able to come in and say, try it this way. What if? What do you think you could have done differently? So it's a beautiful relationship that happens there. They're also becoming that enculturated and invasive. They're becoming Bay City Black Hats. They are there from day one when the teacher's getting the room ready for those kids when they come in. They're greeting those kids. They're learning those kids' names from day one. They're going through Halloween and Thanksgiving holidays. They're going through the Christmas break. And they come back. What's so interesting is the change. We can see it because we can see that they're pretty nervous at the beginning when they start. And by the time they've gone through that all cultural stuff, and they're seeing that they're being mentored, they're feeling the love from the district. By the time Christmas comes around, they come in and it's like they're different students at Christmas. Their confidence levels up here. They know every kid, they can talk and reach out to each child. So it becomes this, get out of my way, this is my classroom. And it becomes such a relationship between the partner teacher that's co-teaching with those student teachers. There's something to see. So what's exciting is that we have strategic Saturdays coming up. First one, September 21st. We're going to be spending the whole day here. And we'll come back again November 30th. Will you give me? I hope so. For both of those days. So that's where we are.
All right, so again, this partnership is key for us. This is in the past, I think universities and school districts, we work together, we knew each other. But what's remarkable about this is we are really partnering with your district now. So what our residency looks like for Bay City ISD might look different from what it looks like in Victoria ISD, might look different from Lamar Consolidated, because we are working with our partners. We're getting feedback from our district. They're getting feedback from us. We're working together, we're problem solving together, we're thinking outside the box together, we're brainstorming all together. And this is all occurring with data, so collecting data at different times. And we look at our data, we're making sure we have a shared vision. The service center is helping provide that for us by having these meetings and facilitating it. We're looking at ways that the district might budget in order to support our students as they go through the residency. And we're making sure that we're pulling in the district of our people that are going out and doing supervision, that we're all working together to make sure that this is the strongest partnership, that our students get a great experience, that your students and your teachers and your district get a great experience. Because this is, I think, the wave. This is the way to feed the teacher pipeline and keep people in the profession. And another thing that I think I haven't mentioned yet is our mentor teachers. Sometimes you have classroom teachers who've been teaching for a very long time, and they want to kind of spread their wings a little bit and do other things. And maybe they don't want to go into administration. So this is an opportunity for them to really pair with a young teacher, a new teacher, and help get them ready for the exciting career of teaching. So it's just a beautiful relationship, and the partnership is the key thing. And it's informed by data and working together. It's really a rich experience.
Okay, this is a kind of a little calendar here of how it can look. So what happens in the fall, we have our TRs, which are teacher residents. They're placed in the classroom. The way we have it structured right now, they go into the classroom Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But as we talk to the district, we may find that, well, we'd rather have them come on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on what your district needs are. Because on those other days of the week, you may find that you're gonna use a different model where they are maybe substitute teaching for you. Their guaranteed sub is gonna be there for you on Fridays. So you have somebody who's built in there. So however you do that, the other days when they're not on campus, they're probably taking class, right? And depending on how their schedule is, they might be doing evening classes, it can vary. So they also have, within that semester, they have bi-monthly seminars with a site coordinator. Right now, we use faculty members, we have full professors, associate professors that are acting as site coordinators because we're looking at this, we're building it, we're shaping it. So they are the ones that work and they go in and do the observations on these teachers. They're teach-as trained, so they use that observation instrument. They go in and they pre-conference, they observe, and then they post-conference. Do those cycles, they use the teach-as for that. They do 4 informal walkthroughs and they do, they'll do the regular, the structure was needed per semester while they're doing their residency. During the time, it's 100% co-teaching. And that's the model that has been around for years, looking at how do we work with students with disabilities going into those general education classrooms. But using that same model here, this is where they take on different roles, depending on how you can flow in and out of different types of co-teaching models within a class period, depending on how you structure it, where you are in the lesson cycle. So but they're always there planning, working, looking at each other. So they're learning from their co-teacher all. And also our mentor teachers get some training, train them as well. So we offer them, how do we coach? What kind of feedback can you give them? Where do you see, what can we do at the university that if we see that classroom management is something that you guys want to work on, but we're going to shore up our program so that we can make sure that our students are going in prepared to meet your needs. The same thing happens again in the spring. So the students go through the same, but here it might be 4 days a week, where it's Monday through Thursday, depending on your needs. Okay. So that's how it looks.
All right, and so we just have a few pictures where you can see last year was our first pilot year. And so we did have some students go through the program last year. You can see they're embedded in the school districts. So these are some of our students and they were at the parent night. These are some of our residents being honored, the school board in a school board meeting. They made their own t-shirts. They were so excited to be part of this, that the group of student teachers got together and made a t-shirt that showed up at the board meeting. It was very exciting.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, that same group of student teachers came to my class, because I teach the Wednesday night class, it's their block 1 instructional design course they're taking when they first get to the program. And they came in and did just a panel discussion. And they brought in their t-shirts. They said, this is why you're gonna love it. This is what you need to plan for. These are things you need to make sure you get your ducks in a row to do it. So they were getting on the ground feedback because they were still in it. They're just doing their residency. But here's one comment from Rachel Anderson. She was amazing. They were trying to hire her before she spent. So, yeah. Finish your year out. But what she said was Jack's teach was an eye opener and such a wonderful experience. I think it's great how the program is a full year because I can see what the classroom environment is like from the beginning and learn how to adapt to the students. Adapt to the students. So she put the students first in that. So that's pretty exciting.
Another one of our residents, Crystal Garcia, she was also amazing and she was in the Lamar Consolidated. I learned so much, and she was paired in a 3rd grade classroom. And when she graduated, she stayed on that campus and became a teacher within that cohort. So she's working with the other 3rd grade teachers, including her mentor teacher. She said, I learned so much in such a short period of time. I love being able to see how students are progressing. The program has been helpful in all sorts of ways, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. So I think, again, I just want to make sure, it's wonderful for our students. It's also wonderful for the school districts. It's so supportive for the mentor teachers that are there with. It's so supportive for the students in that classroom that they're interacting with all day. And on those days that they're there, those students don't think of them as like people coming in. They think they're teachers in the classroom, and the parents treat them like that. And I think it's also so beneficial for the school district as a whole, is you're gonna have a pipeline of people that are ready to go and are second year teachers, really, when the first year is they have their own classroom. I think that's it for us. If you have questions or have to answer any questions, we're excited to be here.
I just wanted to add a tidbit into that. I wanted them to share first before I kind of spoke to y'all a little bit more about it, but as y'all know, I came from the private entity. So a lot of times whenever I hear things like this is how you recruit a lot of people to come and work for your whatever company you're with. So whenever I came into public education, that was something that was very bizarre to me, is that they didn't have a residency program where we could attract teachers to come and want to work for Bay City. So when this was brought to our attention, I was very excited about it, and I really think that this is a great opportunity for our district. I think that BCISD has a lot to offer, not only for our staff members, but for our students. And I think that as we continue through this partnership, we're going to continue to attract teachers who want to come and work for us, people who want to stay with us, and to continue to grow that education that we have here. So I am very excited. These ladies have worked very hard with us, including Miss Lee.
Yes, we want to grab a picture. We're so excited. We want to grab a picture.
Yes.
We want the board to be in this photo, and then also anyone on the design team, and of course.
I've got a couple questions.
Oh,
yeah, sure.
Sorry.
I love questions.
So the first one is the student or the site coordinator, is that the one who's kind of like working with the student to make sure that they're not like getting just overwhelmed before they can go into teaching with having to work and your senior year of classes?
So the site coordinator, we call that the glue of the whole experience. The site coordinator is, for us primarily, resident faculty member, we are reaching out to a person who's local to be a site coordinator for us, and we help train that person to be ready for this position. That person does do that. They're working with students, they're doing their visits, they're pulling the student into like a class where they discuss things as a class. So the feedback and support they get is in direct relationship to the quality and the accessibility of the site coordinator and how they are kind of glued to both of us.
You know what, like, that's, if you're talking about 4 days a week of full-time working and you're doing your last semester of senior year, I don't want to be burned out with the
Yes, that's a big part of the conversation we have.
You be the third district to tell how to this? Okay, so it's the Lamar Consolidated and Victoria, that last year was their first year.
Yes.
And then,
Let's go real quick, before we entertain a motion, I just want to say a few things here. You know, almost 30 years of education, and I think for the first time I'm going to use the term giddy. I don't think I've ever used that term, but just the excitement in the room with the planning, the Region 3, obviously the university and us. Everyone is so fired up for this. It is a win-win, and we are going to recruit these residents like they have never recruited before. You may want to warn them. You may I'm just saying, you may want to warn, but it's a commitment to what I refer to as, you know, the science of teaching. More importantly, the artistry of teaching, and treating it as a residency at the professional level and the benefit. We have the teachers, we have the master teachers, and to hear the words like co-teach, that's something we dream of. It's like only if we could, but I think it's a huge motivational piece for everyone involved. And like you all have said so many times, everyone is benefiting from this, including, and I have to say this, in addition to the design team and the recruiting piece that we're going on, you know, these will be paid residencies, paid through, you know, a lot of innovative work by our Director of Federal Programs, Elizabeth Rawlings, who has found the funding. And of course, we also received the planning grant, the strategic staffing grant, but very strategic in how we're supporting this and using funds from outside the local budget to lift this program up. So again, it just seems, we were so pleased when Elizabeth told us that that would fit within some of the programs that she had identified. It's just a win-win. So thank you so much, and it may go without saying, but I do recommend the board that we approve the MOU in partnership with.
Are there any other questions before I move on?
Do we, does the school district have input on the candidates that come to our district, or is that something that y'all select on your own, or how does that work?
We'll have candidates, that'll be part of what we talk about. We'll have them fill out an application. We've had our candidates do little short videos, so the principals can select even who they think they like. And that's gonna be a direct, in response, how we do it, will be in communication with you guys. So you're gonna help us decide how we do it. Yeah.
This is the way we want to go.
Yeah.
It's 90 days.
Yeah. I love being an educator. I love the innovativeness of this program for the success of the educator themselves. We see teachers that teach for a couple of years and they say, well, if I would have been able to do a year, or if those people would have been able to do a year, the trajectory of their success, I think will skyrocket. And I'm so excited that y'all have partnered with us and we're moving forward. I think it's gonna be a great partnership that will serve Bay City ISD students well, as well as Victoria. University of Houston, Victoria. So with that, moving on to item D, approval of the memorandum of understanding between Bay City ISD and the University of Houston, Victoria. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Bay City ISD and the University of Houston, Victoria, as presented in the board book.
Is there a second to the motion? Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other questions before we take the vote? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more, 1, 2, 3, and I lied one more, 1, 2, 3. Thank God. Yeah. Right. What an exciting time. Thank you for all your work on that. All right, we will start back up at the top with item A, vote on proposed tax bill. We have not done that. So we need a presentation from. Hello. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing well. So we'll vote on the proposed tax rate instead of date for public hearing and approval at the final tax rates.
Yeah. It's been like a very interesting year as far as trying to set this tax rate, in the sense that We were instructed about numerous, like ASMO and also Region 3 and PEA. So as you know, on November 4th, the okay, on November 4th, the citizens of Texas are going to vote to either keep the $40,000 homestead exemption or increase it to $100,000. So, but we've been instructed by our sources to propose a tax rate based upon the 100,000 as if it's going to pass. And so, I think I've been that bad. Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting. There's kind of a like threefold working together. It's the appraisal district, tax office, and us. And so we I'm here to say that we're going to propose a tax rate for M&O of 68.5 cents. And which is, you know, it's interesting that it's like I have to check it like 5 times because so but then I also there we go. I'm not sorry, 68.5 cents. And so last year it was 88 cents. So that's a big decrease, 68.5 cents. And then we also on our debt rate last year, it was 39 cents. So and this year it worked out because our values went up. Our debt rate, and we're paying our bonded debt, we're going to propose 35, it's 36 cents, 0.35946. So those all total together, our total tax rate for next year will be $1.446. So the certified tax value from the appraisal district for the property, for maintenance operation property is $1,729,085,625. And for our IMS value, it's $1,984,000. So the difference between those two is due to the 313 agreements that we were entered into over the past few years. And there are 3 that are active right now. And then after this period of time, as we go forward, we have 5 313 agreements, but they'll kick in later. But right now we have 3 that we're working with. So we're going to propose those rates in the meetings. The next meeting, we'll have go over this again. We'll go over these tax rates and also go kind of a review of the budget. And because our adopted budget will review budgets. Any questions?
And last year's rate was about 22 cents higher, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just so we know.
Yes. Last year's rate was. We just did it. Sorry.
The $1.26.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this year it's $1.06.
So. Going into the whole.
Yeah. So, and also on here, on this report, on this sheet that I sent off today, while I was sitting here, I found an error in the sense that it shows here the tax rate proposed $5.923. The county sent to me, but I'll change that to $4. This document here is correct. It's on the.
So what's the difference between the voter approval rate and the no new revenue rate?
Okay, the no new revenue rate, okay, voter approval rate, if you adopted the tax rate higher than that, then it would generate a tax ratification election.
Yeah.
They used to call it a rollback election, and now they call it tax ratification election. So if we adopted a rate higher than that, then it would automatically, we would have to do that. So, and then the no new revenue rate is really kind of weird. It's a deal where on property The same property was taxed last year, the same property was taxed this year, they calculate a rate. That would generate the same amount of funding, but it's not. It's on, if we didn't have any growth or anything, property values, that's that right there, $6.836.
So dollar wise, we're still gonna have the same amount of money.
Yes, in the sense that actually, dollar wise, a good example is like last year, our local revenue per student was, our taxes generated $6,725 per student locally, and then, state revenue per student is $5,011. So this calculation, this new tax rate, the total revenue is $5,600 for the local revenue, $6,630 for the state. So really very little difference between the two. Those are good questions.
Well, I think it's important to communicate that even though property values went up, we're
Right.
lowering the tax rates, so the dollar amounts are the same. And they may not be the same in all, pretty close. They may not be the same in all tax jurisdictions, but
Now it's work out.
we're lowering the tax rate significantly.
Yeah, so like the value of the, rate, and the certified value compared to last year, is 13% higher this year. Than, the value,
Right.
total tax value, right?
By lowering this, by going to 1.0446, we're still gonna give, I guess, more money as a district next year possibly, or?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it'd be more money, it's just about the same, in the sense way, so they have a new summary of finance, new template, so they basically, they compressed the tax rate for the taxpayer in the states. And then property values went up, then, so therefore, when it's all said and done for our district, it's like apples and apples.
Yes, it's, you do it.
That,
Negative budget.
So,
We can't go
Yeah.
higher.
if you go above that, that's an issue tax rate, if you go above that. So what we're talking about a wash is your state and your local share.
right,
Essentially what the state is saying, they're gonna take a larger response, they're compressing the rate in order for them to take a larger responsibility for the state share. So they're gonna take a larger share of that, and so our local share will come down to what we need to pay, but it's literally a wash as to the whole amount, it's still the same, it's just who's paying which. So they're buying down the tax rate the state is, right? And so it
That's
should
why
be,
we can't go lower, maybe we can't go higher.
yes, if you go higher, they will subtract your allotment.
Yeah.
And they will reduce your.
right. We have to maximize our, they call it maximizing our taxes locally, so like, here basically I see, if we tax at the maximum rate that we're allowed, then we're not penalized. If we were to lower it, then they would take away from state funding in the form of, how is it?
And I'm adding the conversation a little bit. This is really a great question and great clarification in that establishing tax rates versus valuations, right? So what is often said is, and recently across the state of Texas, values have skyrocketed. And sometimes that leads to a conversation where people are saying, what did the school district do? No, it wasn't the school district. You also have a local appraisal board that works, and you can't put it on them either. In that the state comptroller is going to say, this is what we think it's valued at.
Right.
And if you do this with your local board, we're going to subtract the money from your budget in between. So it really forces the hand to push the valuations up. And again, of no local responsibility for that. It's either do it or we're going to cut your funding. And so I think that's an important point, Rick. I don't know if you want to add that, but
No,
that's that part of that swap, bait and switch, if you want to say. Yes, they compressed it, values went up at the same time. So it's a little bit of a wash, but also the homestead exemption went up, which is a bonus from what, about 40,000 to 100,000.
If it passes.
If it passes, which we're betting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
We might, Do that.
Yes, yeah, and so there's a lot, and we'll talk more tonight about a lot of things with the legislative session that are up in there, but they will definitely penalize us for not adopting the proposed tax rate. And I mean, they send that to us, you reference it, and they say, this is what we recommend. If you go outside of that, you could reduce your own funding. Rick, could you clarify for us, just in the process of adopting a tax rate, kind of where we are in the process tonight and what we're
Okay.
asking the board to do tonight?
Okay, what I'm asking the board to do tonight is propose, not approve, propose the tax rate of a 68 in 0.6850, 68.5 cents for M&O, and then for interest and sinking, which pays their bond debt, an amount of 35.946 cents. So I'm asking the board to approve the proposed tax rate, and also to set the meeting for the next board meeting, which is the 19th of September. At that point, we'll then you would approve tax rate.
Doesn't it change? Would this change based on the
Okay,
assuming you know what's going to.
okay, this calculation was done based
What
on,
if the wheels fall off?
then we'll have to come back. Yeah, it's a real fall off for some reason, and that's why I understand. We would have to start the process, calculation.
We're improving this based on future election.
Right.
And we will see that is definitely the beginning in this legislative session. If you recall, as a district, we pushed the pause button on the compensation plan. We know something's coming, and we just had to pause, but this is one more, and there'll be several items that I'll point to tonight that they want us to move on, but there may not be commissioner's rules yet, or they want us to move on and there's not a TASB policy, but I'll cover some as we go. But great question, because it is this year in a number of ways.
And then whenever we adopt the tax rate at the next meeting, then we have special language that are doing this side for non-public law. On making motion.
So if the homestead don't pass, we gotta go back and redo this.
Right, then our tax rate will be
Yes.
more. But
All right, is there any other questions? There motion to be made.
I'll make a motion that the BCISD approve the proposal of the new revenue. The M&O. Oh, yeah, 0.6850, sorry, so, and the interest in seeking 3.35, not 46.
All right, there is a motion on the table. Is there a second to that? All right, we have a first and second. Any other questions or comments?
Just a motion to include the date of the meeting, right?
okay, and the day meeting is September 19th.
To approve it on September 19th.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to vote on the proposed tax rate of 0.685 M&O and 0.35946 for our INS, and to approve the date for the next board meeting of September 19th. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to B, take action to approve the contingent fee contract with Purdue Brandon Fielder Collins and Mott LLP pursuant to section 6.30 of the tax codes, and contract being for the collection of delinquent government receivables owed to Bay City ISD, and notice of said contract is posted with the agenda in accordance with section 2254 of the government code.
Give a quick update, or they're essentially the same contract that was approved before. There are a few additional housekeeping items that the government code requires to put in there, such as we will not boycott Israel or contract with terrorist entities. So other than that, it is the same contract that was previously approved.
Great. Are there any questions? All right, is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve, contract with Free Bank Filter Collins and Milo equals to section 6.30. The tax code send contract meaning the collection of delinquent government receivables owed to the Bay City School District, and notice of said contract is posted within the agenda in accordance with section 254 of the government code.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming.
My pleasure. Let me know if y'all ever need anything.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
hopefully I'll be back in the near future with some tax resale offers here.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. All right, moving on to item E, approval of updated gifted and talented plan.
And so, part of the gifted talent plan was placed in the board agenda, but also made a couple of comments in the board newsletter on significant kind of changes that maybe headed our way as far as slight adjustments to the program. And did have one question from a board member on in this plan, there's board training, of course, and working with Jill, maybe in our retreat or sometime here, they're taking care of that training that is associated, which was in the plan. But actually, it's very user friendly and very important, not only for compliance, but to be familiar with the whole process. So I just, since that was a question, I wanted to make sure that the board understood that the training requirement is there, but we're planning that right now to make sure we're compliant with the plan. And Chris Townsend is here to entertain any questions, or Mr. Townsend, anything you want to highlight, anything of that nature.
No, basically, you've got the district plan in front of you. The only change is on page 6, and that K through 3 was a pull-out model. We were only servicing 8 students, and so it was full employee in that. The other thing is that in that pull-out model, when they pull them out, they're doing extensions. She wasn't working on them related to the current content they're working on in the class, but more of the overall GT extension of all processes. And what we've seen many times, because all the way through 4th through 12th, that was an inclusion model that the extensions happen in the classroom. And so when they do those GT extensions, it's based on the curriculum they're doing in the classroom. And so you end up seeing a lot of improvement in their STAR scores, whatever it is that they're working on there. A lot of times we talk about getting our students, our other students, because if they get forgotten, because we want to get everybody somewhere. Well, we want to get them to the master's level for sure. And this helps in that process. We're just extending that down to the lower grade.
Great. Are there any questions?
How are they selected for that?
So they are tested in kindergarten, and there's a Florence test, there's 2 other tests that make it over. And then based on how many points they get, there's a GT committee that comes together, GT training people, and they look, and if they reach that benchmark in that point spread, then they're considered as GT. Then in addition to that, if they get within a 3-point variance of that, then they're called a challenge student. So they still accepted into the program to get those pullouts at that lower level or this inclusion model now. But they're not, you can't label them as GT officially for the state, but you're still going to get those services and then test it again later to see if they meet that benchmark.
That's in the kindergarten and then again in what grade?
Each year, parents can request.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the testing in May. Did I read that?
In the spring, yes, but we want to try to do it earlier,
Okay.
so that we can identify.
All right, any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to be made? We do. Updated. All right, there is a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any further questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, heading on to F. Consider and take, thank you, sir. Consider and take possible approval. Consider and take possible approval of resolution of the board to establish non-business days for Public Information Act for the 2023 calendar year.
Yes, and so this is another one of those pieces of new legislation, and that all of the policy and procedures are not completely outlined just yet. But again, the recommendation that we're receiving is to go ahead and be proactive and adopt these dates. Now, these dates, of course, just like it says, are additional designated dates to fulfill public information requests. And so we were to select dates that, in addition to our business days, there are some days here that are outside of our business days. We need to have 10 of those. Now, this is by a calendar year. So we're only adopting from now until the end of the calendar year. Then we'll come back to probably when a lot of the specifics are more rounded as far as exactly what we need to update and how when we get to January. And so these dates right here, I can tell you the dates that are presented, since it's so compressed, we really don't have any other options. And so again, Danielle and I looking at these dates, etc. She does a lot of the fulfillment of these requests. We recommend these 10 dates. We can handle this 10 days. Again, these are non-business days. You know, you recall you all came in on a similar date, I think, when we entertained 313s in support of that initiative, came in right before New Year's. So these are the dates we can handle, and we can provide that service in counting these days as required by the new law. We can establish 10 days here for fulfillment of non-business days, fulfillment of the Public Information Act requests. So they count as days. It may not be that we come in and do work that day, but it does count as.
Great. There, clarification question.
Clarification.
All right, hearing none, is there a motion to be made?
I move to approve the resolution of the board to establish non-business days for Public Information Act for the 2023 to 2024 calendar years.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
It's for the motion, just a reminder to say the calendar year, so it's 23 Yes.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, is there questions? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to item G. Consider and possible approval of the resolution of board to employ or accept as volunteer chaplains.
Okay, this evening, again, this is part of a new law, and we already know that based on your options tonight on this topic, you'll have 3 options, and I'll make a recommendation. Of the 3 options that you have, it will require a policy update that hasn't happened yet. And so you tonight, based on my recommendation, would be authorizing us to update that policy. So essentially, the options that you're looking at tonight is to take the option of either employing or having a chaplain volunteer to provide services for the district. So if you notice in the language, it is hire or volunteer. And of course, that's a whole discussion on staffing outside of this discussion. But your options tonight are to say, number one, you do not authorize. Another option would be for you to say, we're going to keep our policy, which is GKG, which already addresses the matter, but it's not addressed in our policy. So that one's out as an option. So now you're down to a motion to either deny or approve that we have the option to either hire or have volunteers from the chaplain to come in and work with our students. That can be clarified a little better. So your options are again either to say no or to say yes, and we're going to update policy EP. And I do have the language for this motion.
Are there any questions for clarification purposes? All right. Someone like to make a motion?
I move to permit our district campus to employ or accept as a volunteer a chaplain to provide support services and programs for students and modify policy DP local as set forth in the resolution.
Right, is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and second, any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything before we get started that someone would like to remove from the consent agenda? All right, is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve the consent.
Is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to our next item, executive session. We will convene into closed session under personnel matters may be taken into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, resignation, duties, discipline, resignation or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contract recommendations for campus and district level administrators and teachers. We will convene into closed session at 7:49. Moving on to, we will reconvene, where's my? Reconvene into open session at 8:50. We'll discuss and consider approval of hiring contractual personnel. Is there a motion to be made? Great, is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0. Next item of business is adjournment. Is there a motion to be made? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we have a first and second, any more comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0 and 8:51, we will adjourn.